A phone call between two foreign intelligence operatives, a discussion about someone close to the President of the United States, and a whistleblower who says America's top spy chief tried to bury the whole thing.
Wait, this sounds like the opening of a thriller. What actually happened?
Last spring, the National Security Agency flagged something unusual. They intercepted a call between two members of foreign intelligence, and on that call, they discussed a person close to Donald Trump, not an administration official, not a government employee, someone in Trump's orbit.
The NSA routinely picks up foreign communications. What made this one special?
That's the question. The intelligence was brought to Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Normally, this kind of report would be distributed through proper channels to other intelligence agencies, but according to the whistleblower, Gabbard did something different. She took a paper copy of the report directly to the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. The next day, she told the NSA not to publish the report. Instead, she ordered them to route everything through her office only.
So she took it out of the normal system entirely.
That's the allegation. The whistleblower filed a complaint in May, calling it a matter of urgent concern. For 8 months, that complaint sat locked in a safe. It only reached Congress last week after the Wall Street Journal reported on its existence.
What does Gabbard say?
She's pushing back hard. Her office calls the story false, says every action she took was within her legal and statutory authority. She accused Senator Mark Warner and the media of spreading lies for political gain. But here's the thing, Alistair. The Gang of Eight, the top congressional leaders who reviewed the complaint, only saw a heavily redacted version. Gabbard's office cited executive privilege for the redactions.
Executive privilege? Meaning the White House is involved somehow?
That's what the whistleblower's attorney believes. He said, quote, "By exercising executive privilege, they are flagging that it involves presidential action." Senator Warner, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, said on Face the Nation today that he cannot make a judgment about credibility because of how heavily it's been redacted. He also said, point blank, that he does not believe Gabbard is competent for her position.
And Republicans?
Senator Tom Cotton dismissed it, called it another effort to undermine the president's policies. Representative Rick Crawford called it the same deep state playbook used in the first Trump impeachment. But here's what we know for sure. The NSA detected a conversation about someone close to the president. That information was restricted, and for 8 months, Congress didn't see the complaint. Whether that's proper handling or a cover-up depends entirely on what's behind those redactions.
What happens next?
The whistleblower's attorney plans to brief Congress this week. Warner says Democrats are trying to get access to both the redactions and the underlying intelligence, and members of the Gang of Eight have contacted the NSA directly to request the original intel. They're going round Gabbard's office entirely. This story is far from over.
We'll be watching. But there was another story today that stopped everyone in their tracks.
Lindsey Vonn. 12 seconds. That's all it took for one of the greatest ski racers in history to see her Olympic dream end in a violent, terrifying crash on the side of a mountain in Cortina, Italy.
I saw the clip. It was brutal. And she was racing on an injured knee, right?
9 days ago, Vonn ruptured her anterior cruciate ligament in a World Cup race in Switzerland, the ACL, the most important ligament in your knee for stability. Doctors typically recommend months of recovery. Vonn got on the starting gate anyway.
At 40 years old, coming out of a 5-year retirement.
She wanted to become the oldest athlete, male or female, to win a medal in the Olympic downhill. She completed 2 training runs on the course this week. She made it to the gate. And then, coming over a bump 12 seconds in, her legs gave out. She twisted, fell, tumbled down the slope. The crowd went silent. Medical teams rushed to her. She was airlifted by helicopter to a hospital in Treviso.
How is she?
US Ski and Snowboard confirmed she's in stable condition after surgery for a broken left leg. Her coach told her teammate Breezy Johnson that Vonn was cheering for her from the helicopter as it flew away. Johnson went on to win the gold medal, 0.04 of a second, ahead of Germany's Emma Eicher.
There's going to be debate about whether she should have raced at all.
There already is. But Johan Eliash, the chair of the International Skiing Federation, said anyone asking that question doesn't know Lindsey. This is a woman who once tried to check herself out of a hospital in her gown to compete after a crash at the 2002 Olympics. She's had 6 fractures in her left leg, broken both arms, nearly every finger. She wrote once that whenever she was injured, her internal drive shifted. Quote, "I decided I could overcome anything. In those moments, it became about not giving up, fighting through it, and not letting anyone else tell me what to do."
That's the mindset that made her a champion, but also the one that puts you in a helicopter off a mountain.
Her teammate Isabella Wright said she deserved a better ending, but Vonn would probably say deserve doesn't come into it. She was the first American woman to win Olympic gold in the downhill. She's won more World Cup overall titles than anyone, and now she's the first woman to race the Olympic downhill in her 40s. The only thing she didn't become is the first to finish it.
Speaking of people who refuse to stay quiet, there's a story out of Iran today.
Narges Mohammadi, Nobel Peace Prize laureate, imprisoned activist, and as of yesterday, sentenced to 7 more years in prison. Her total sentence now stands at 17 years.
What was the charge this time?
Gathering and collusion against national security. Propaganda. She'll serve the time and then face a 2-year travel ban, plus 2 years of internal exile to a remote city southeast of Tehran. Her crime, Alistair, was attending a memorial ceremony for a human rights lawyer who died. She was arrested in December while demanding justice for victims of the regime.
And she's been on hunger strike.
Since February 2nd, Mohammadi is 53 years old. She's had multiple heart attacks while imprisoned. In late 2024, doctors found a bone lesion they feared was cancerous. It was removed, but she remains in fragile health. Her lawyer is calling for temporary release so she can receive treatment.
This is happening while the US and Iran are negotiating over the nuclear program.
Exactly. Just days after talks in Oman, Iran's foreign minister said Tehran's strength comes from being able to, quote, say no to the great powers. Mohammadi is the price of that strength. A woman in prison for believing Iranian women should be able to choose whether to wear a hijab. For standing up after thousands died in protests. For refusing to be silent.
And she won the Nobel Peace Prize while behind bars.
In 2023, her children accepted it on her behalf. She couldn't be there. She still can't.
All right, I have to ask about the Olympics athletes and Trump. What happened?
It started when several Team USA athletes were asked about the political situation back home. Hunter Hess, a freestyle skier, gave an honest answer. He said representing the US right now brings up mixed emotions, that there's a lot going on he's not the biggest fan of. But he's representing his friends and family, the people who came before him, the things he believes are good about America.
That seems pretty measured, honestly.
Trump didn't think so. He posted on Truth Social this morning calling Hess, quote, a real loser, said if he doesn't want to represent his country, he shouldn't have tried out for the team, said it's too bad he's on it, and it's very hard to root for someone like this.
The President of the United States calling an Olympian a loser for answering a question.
And Hess isn't alone. Amber Glenn, the first openly LGBTQ woman to compete in Olympic figure skating, spoke about the challenges facing her community under the current administration. She's now receiving what she called a scary amount of hate and threats. She said she's limiting her time on social media for her own well-being. Jake Paul, J.D. Vance's guest at the women's hockey game, piled on too. So did Representative Byron Donalds, Rob Schneider, Brett Favre.
So athletes who speak get attacked, and athletes who stay silent get praised.
Michaela Schifrin, when asked about it, quoted Nelson Mandela. She said peace is not the absence of conflict, but the creation of an environment where everyone can flourish. She said she's there to represent her values: inclusivity, diversity, kindness. The US Olympic Committee put out a statement saying they're aware of increasing abusive and harmful messages directed at athletes, and they're reporting credible threats to law enforcement.
So what's the takeaway here?
The takeaway is this. A whistleblower says America's intelligence chief may have buried information about someone close to the president. The greatest American skier broke her leg trying to do what everyone said was impossible. A Nobel laureate sits in an Iranian prison for demanding freedom. And athletes who represent their country are being called losers by that country's president for speaking their minds.
A lot to sit with.
It always is. But that's why we're here. Not to tell you how to feel, but to make sure you know what's happening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.